Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Star Technology. Today we are going to talk about the electronic blast furnace and getting to MV tier machines here. So we're almost set to get there, just not quite. Let's check my list here. So distilled water. So the first thing on tap is that some of the new items that we get when we use our flint mesh. So if we look at some of the sifting recipes in here, then to be able to process this chalcopyrite in the kinetic ore processor, we need distilled water. So you have two options there. You can build an entirely different machine and have a setup for it, or you can just put in another input hatch and have distilled water in there, and depending on what you put in to process there, it will use whatever is necessary. So this is turned off. No. Why is this not working? Maintenance, fine. Power is fine, power. Oh, I guess this stuff doesn't get processed in there. I put the wrong thing in, that's why. So yeah, and then obviously right now with the way I've got it, I got either flint or string meshes. So I made 16 flint meshes, so I have that down there just for getting the new materials, because I think I'm pretty well stocked up on the other ones. So I switched this over to flint for now, and we'll start putting lots of things through there to get more access to more goodies, more byproducts. I did add a third coil on here, and as such I had to add a few more diesel engines, but I am still keeping up on the biodiesel. I just did add the third basin for the ethanol production there. So that was the only thing that I added to this setup. Just had to run some pipe underneath to get it around there, but that is still working just fine off of that setup. So this is still all completely free power, so not looking forward to moving forward and having to pay for our power. But there is the compression dynamo. So we can make this currently. We have access to all of these things. And we can run where is it? Biodiesel, right? Yes, biodiesel. So each bucket of biodiesel will make 1,000,000 RF. The only thing it doesn't say is the time that it takes to do that, so I don't know how much energy per tick that runs at. But at any rate, we can get that way if we want. But what I had done is with just the two coils down there, I was hooking up, my wires going to there, my wires going up to the workshop converter, and then I added the third one going to my EBF, and when I did that, this couldn't keep up on power anymore. This just got totally drained, because with the two coils and the 900K per tick, 900, it's not 900K, it's 900. Yeah. And so I added another one, so now we're up to 1.4, but it was at 900 and something. And this would drain out with this just hooked up, not even soul-infused wire going into there. That wasn't there. Just having this on that same connection caused this to drain and not go through. Like, none of these machines were running, and that was draining. So I thought, well, we better add another coil to it, so I did that. It did not help. So then my next thought, I decided to use a different side of the carbon brush for a connector, and I connected this one up to the thing, and it works fine. So I imagine if I took out this row here, it would still be, the kinetic ore factory would be fine, but I've got it there and infrastructure's in place, so we'll just keep going with it. And before, this used to run like just a couple of ticks down from completely full when it was running. Actually, it's not running right now, which is part of the problem. Let's put a bunch of that through there, just so we can have something to process. We'll do the charcoal pyrite, right? Yep. Now this stays completely full, whereas before it would constantly run like 2 or 3 of the red ticks down on the top there. Maybe even 4, but it stayed steady. It didn't lose power. The only times it lost power is when I put this distillery. I started with this distillery right here, and I hooked it up to this power. That completely drained it. So this 4 amp energy converter is exactly enough for this overclocked kinetic ore factory. And I did mention overclocking in the last episode. You just add a second energy hatch, and it is explained in the mechanics section here. So if you just read through this here, it explains about overclocking your machines. So basically this turned it from an LV machine into an MV machine. We can see that in here because I'm running at 128, even though I only have LV power technically going here. All right, on to the electric blast furnace and the voyage to medium voltage. So getting to medium voltage, we do need to get to aluminum, which is only available through byproducts. The way I'm doing it, and I don't know if I'm doing this right, so please feel free to correct me in the comments below if there's a better way to be doing this. Full bucket here already, is I'm processing crushed green sapphire and the regular sapphire dust in this machine. So if we look at the uses on the crushed green sapphire ore, if we put it into an ore washer, we get a 33% chance at aluminum dust each time. And then if we then process this purified green sapphire ore, basically this step is the best thing to do with it. You could run it through the centrifuge. Yes, you run it through a thermal centrifuge, not a normal centrifuge. So this is a new machine, basic thermal centrifuge, not the regular basic centrifuge. And that gives you another 33% chance to end up with sapphire dust on the other end. And then with this refined green sapphire ore, we just hammer it down, so forge hammer or a regular hammer, and then you get this green sapphire dust, which you can then put back into an electrolyzer, and every 5 of those that you have, you get 2, and you'll end up with some oxygen, which we're going to need anyways. So this being an Al2O3, so we get 2 aluminum and 2 parts of aluminum, 3 parts of oxygen for the green sapphire dust, and it just so happens with the ratios we need 5 at a time there. So with the sapphire, I guess we could look at this one, but basically same thing. I take the crushed sapphire ore, I put it through the ore washer, gets the same ratios. We also end up with this stone dust through those processes, which we can just store for now. But that gives us, a chance at aluminum ore there. And then we run that in the thermal centrifuge again to give us a chance at getting some green sapphire dust. And then with this refined sapphire ore, again, hammer it down to the sapphire dust. And with the sapphire dust, again, same thing. We put it back into the electrolyzer, and we get a two out for every 5 there. So we're getting, like as we process this down, we're getting chances at aluminum, and then the end step, we're getting pure aluminum itself. And this across here is, no, I had a test with just my first 26 that I did, 13 of each of those, and I muddied it up by taking out the outputs from processing a whole bunch of extra of the sapphire. So I'm up to like 60, should be up to 64 of each after this full test, but not quite there just yet. This was the secondary output. And then this goes into a forge hammer. I haven't even built a LV forge hammer and stuff yet, and I'm kind of out of space over here, so I'm wondering, like, I'll probably end up setting this into a more, like, instead of in the workshop, we'll have it as a dedicated process for feeding into the blast furnace, or close to the blast furnace, so that we can keep going, because we're going to need tons and tons of aluminum the same way that we needed tons and tons of steel for the LV age there. This is processing up, and we'll end up with 64 there. And then we put this into an electrolyzer. Oh, I thought I had. Don't even have an electrolyzer. So I'll have to make one of those. Obviously, we'll put it over here, and we'll get more aluminum that way there. But we're up to 26 for now, just to start dipping our toes into it. But that's the process that I've been using to get there. And then, obviously, with some of these other byproducts. No, we talked about all the byproducts. So the green sapphire dust and the sapphire dust all goes in the electrolyzer. And with all our aim at getting aluminum. This is really hard to get my head wrapped around, because this is pretty much as far as I've ever made it into. Greg Tech was the start of MV before. I should, have should get another aqueous accumulator over here for the ore washer, because that's annoying having to come over and do that all the time. But it is the route that I've done just to get me by for now. Still water, aluminum, and what else to talk about? I guess I found a recipe for these vacuum tubes in an assembler. You can use copper wire, steel bolts, and glass tubes, and this is an automated way to do it rather than having to do it in the crafting recipe. It doesn't save, or it saves you a little bit of copper, like one piece of copper wire for every recipe. So that is what it is, right? And with how many you need at the end, because these circuits do get used to make the MV tier circuits as well. So we're going to need not only these for our LV machines, but also for our MV machines. Obviously, at the start, you're using 3 to get 1, but once we get that first circuit assembler up, then it's just 2 for every 1. And I think there's later on... No, it's still 2 LV circuits for every MV tier that you want there. So you're going to need tons and tons of those. And similarly with all of the glue that I made, centrifuging the sticky resin. Oh, it's not a capacitor. What is it called? Resistor. The resistors have an assembler with the glue, and you just have to make the fine copper wire, and then coal dust or charcoal dust. We can get coal dust from certain processes in the centrifuge again. Which one did I... Oh no, it was... Yeah, it was an electrolyzer, and I put some of the... what are this called? The byproduct from here. Dark ashes. So if you get these dark ashes and you make them into the regular piles of dark ashes in the... Yes, in the centrifuge, you'll end up with dust there. So you'll end up with some of these ashes, which we might be able to use later, but rather than dedicating, like, macerating all your charcoal for this, you can use this byproduct for something, and may as well while you're doing it in there. So that was that. Discovery, I guess I'll say. I gotta keep remembering because I've been lazy and rushing through everything to get there. Make sure that we keep going on this. So I do want to run this machine at full blast and that machine at full blast just to see how my power holds up. Because I did a pretty good test of running, 5 or 6 of these machines all at the same time, including some of these, higher usage ones, assembler, reactor, centrifuge, and this guy overclocked at the same time, and I had no problems with the 2 coils set up down below. And now that we're up to the 3, I want to see this machine and that machine going without a lot of these ones at the same time, but that's fine. We will do the test live on camera to see how it holds up. I hate that. Use. Is this good? Yes. One that I want sooner rather than later. I think Railgar is one I want sooner rather than later, but that's not got... No, that doesn't get processed in the kinetic ore factory. Just looking for one that's got a byproduct that I need sooner rather than later. Cassiterite will do. At least I've got a stack and a bit of it to run, so let's grab... I thought that would finish. Oh, it was only 4, not 8, right? Now that'll finish. Aluminum dust in the input. Am I missing something there? Oh, it needs to be on circuit number 1. And even though this is like, I'm only on LV because this, when it tells you to put it together, it tells you to put 2 energy hatches, so we're naturally overclocking our electronic blast furnace off the start. Are you working? No, you're not working. Now you're working. It says it needs a program circuit. Why is there no... There it is. Alright, so it's fluctuating. That's a little bit deeper than this machine was doing before, but yeah, this one totally drained out doing that. So with the 1400 FE per tick, can't keep up with those two. I guess there's math to it that we could do to figure out how many more we need, but I'll probably do some supplemental power somewhere else, but that's good to know. Drains out so fast. It's not even like a little bit draining. It's just completely draining. But hey, there's our first aluminum ingots. That's pretty handy. Let's go ahead, and we've got a whole bunch of quests to claim. Don't forget as well that there are rewards in the processing lines quests here as well. So just for doing like this Slitaki spore stuff, all the steps along the way to get to aluminum are here as well. And then we should look into processing clay dust sooner rather than later. I think we electrolyze it. But this takes tons and tons of clay, so I want to have a way to have it set up, which is what I've cleaned up this area here for, is going to be where I'm going to end up doing my forge hammers, and we'll get automatic, like we'll set up the igneous extruders feeding forge hammers to get our supply of what is this called? Gravel, sand, and dust. And eventually crushed blackstone as well. We'll get in there. But I was on about the rewards, so get a bunch more start coins. So I'm up to 84. I did spend some on one of the flint mesh on the sieves there. Just note with the carry-on, if you stand too close to it and you try to shift click out your sieve, you just use the carry-on. You just have to be like a block and a half away. But I did do this Fortune 3 upgrade, and I don't really know how it pans out, but it's a little bit expensive to do them, and you know, doing 16 at a time is a lot, you know, and that I don't have to manually do it. But if we set up automated sieving later, then having one fortune for each of the different flint types is going to be, or each of the different sieve types is going to be beneficial, right? But that isn't until well, it's not, we can do it now, but it is a great big multi-block machine which takes a ton of creosote. But we can eventually get to the flux sieve here in the MV tier. So once we have lots of aluminum, stainless steel, we'll be able to do this automatic sieving rather than the kind of cobbled together one that we have down below there, and that can keep up. That will be where we want to use those enchanted meshes, I think, more more than in the other area. Completely forgot to take you out while I was doing all that, so that this will turn into more sapphire dust, which we can then put into electrolyzer. Oh, I need gold wire for this bad boy. That's a first. That's fine. So what else did we make? Yes, the basic thermal centrifuge, just copper or 4x copper wire. The ore washer is all pretty simple. Remember to make your tin rotors in your fluid solidifier for much easier recipes. You can do them in bulk there. Oh, I did set up a large stone barrel. A, to get the quest done, but B, this is how we can have some lava on hand. So you just have a cobblestone or regular stone in there, and it will turn it into lava. Oh. Actually, let's just fall out of the world, that's fine. We'll take all of the damages. 9.5 hearts, or 9.5 hit points, because I am not playing in peaceful. I get to eat to get it all back. If I was in peaceful, that keeps your keeps any mobs from spawning, as well as keeps your saturation topped up, so you'd heal naturally from something like that. But I am keeping it in regular mode just to force myself to keep things lit up. Because otherwise this would all be dark and you'd never be able to see anything when I'm recording, and I don't think about the nighttime coming along. So that's if you've been wondering why I am not on peaceful, that's why. It's just to kind of force myself to keep things civil around my base. Any last thoughts? I do need to get to a storage drawer setup. The only thing I don't like about this pack is that we don't have the controller access points. So there's the storage controller, but there's also access points. So you can have like, they're like controller slaves if you know storage drawers mod. So you can have them on the same system. And basically you just put these upgrades. Actually, there's only copper upgrades in here too. There's not the better upgrades. So the last line in gray there increases controller radius by 2 blocks. The higher tier upgrades get you a higher tier radius, so I'd be able to cover off the entire base. But as it is, this only has a, I want to say 8 block radius. Let's make one and find out. So I'm gonna need it at some point anyways. Let's put it down here. Remember, with carry on, we gotta go back a little bit. EMI is back in the pack. Hooray. No, I need one of these guys. Linking tool, I think, is the one that I need. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8 blocks naturally. And in other mods, you have higher tiers of upgrades that you can make, which would give us, you know, you can get your controller radius out to like 64 blocks radius. So you'd be able to do like 4 chunks in each direction with it and be able to have your whole base run off of one storage controller. Maybe that gets super laggy if you're not careful with it, and they've chosen to limit the players so that they don't lag out their whole world and then complain to the pack developer because they didn't think about limiting the player in that regard. So it's always a consideration, I guess. But yeah, I do want to get that set up. Not because we're running out of space at all in our colossal chest yet. Not even close. Yeah. We're still only used 700 slots or so of the 3,300. And we're starting to get up there in some of our resources, right? A lot of these dusts that we've got to process just yet, and I haven't even really started processing the flint tier stuff yet. Better do a couple of stacks of dust in there as well. I don't think I've done any dust in the flint mesh yet. Skystone. Oh, I probably only needed to do 1 stack of dust for now. Definitely need to keep going on the sand and do a little bit more gravel as well for some of this other stuff and get going on those. That's all coming along nicely. Keep working away on all those. Alright, I guess I've rambled on enough at the end of this episode. Extended the duration. Secret YouTuber trick, you know, to get that 30 minutes in. When there wasn't a lot of content in this episode, because it was a lot of grinding and a lot of looking in JEI, figuring out how to do aluminum. But I guess the clay dust is probably the way to go, so we'll build the electrolyzer. We'll build a setup to have dust created automatically for clay production, to have clay dust to electrolyze that to get our aluminum moving forward, because that does look like the more sane way to do it rather than using that sapphire and well, the blue and the green sapphire along with all of the extra stuff we get out of that. Anyways, I appreciate you all for checking out the episode. I hope you enjoyed, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!